Well, happy Friday, everybody. Meteorologist Hunter Forst here. This is the weather desk. Happens every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 9 o'clock. Craig is out today, so I will be taking over. And we have a few good things to chat about today. I mean, we have daylight savings coming up this weekend. We have a rare cyclone making landfall along Australia's east coast right now for the first time in decades. And then we're going to take a look at this weekend's weather and even next week's weather, and I think a lot of you guys will like it. A big warm up here for the East Coast, so some more 70s are in the future, at least for here in the Hampton Roads area. And taking a look at our first topic, daylight savings time is this weekend, and clocks will spring forward at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. Daylight savings has been a debate for years, but there's no way to avoid it. Our sister station in Charlotte tells us how to prepare to lose the hour of sleep.
Losing an hour of sleep this weekend isn't just annoying, it could impact your health. Let's connect the dots. Most of the U.S. will spring forward this Sunday for daylight saving time. That extra hour of evening light throws off your body's natural clock, making it harder to fall asleep. Some people even take weeks to adjust. Why is that? Your brain has a master clock that is set by exposure to sunlight and darkness. The circadian rhythm is a roughly 24-hour cycle that determines when we become sleepy and when we're more alert. But that body clock gets a little confused after the time change. In fact, studies show it's linked to more heart attacks, strokes, and even fatal car crashes in the days after. To adjust, sleep specialists suggest going to bed 15 minutes earlier each night leading up to the change. Getting outside for morning sunlight can also help reset your internal clock. For the last several years, a bipartisan bill to make daylight saving time permanent has stalled in Congress. But health groups say we should stick with the current standard time and not daylight saving time. And that is connecting the dots.
Definitely some interesting facts there about the daylight savings time. I don't know about you, but me, I like the later sunsets, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then in the middle of summer, the sun is setting at 9 o'clock in the evening, even 9 o'clock at night for that fact. I mean, it is kind of nice. But here are some daylight saving times facts. Do you know Hawaii and Arizona do not participate in daylight savings time? So sometimes Arizona is 2 hours behind us, sometimes it's 3 hours behind us because of this time change. It was introduced in 1918 as a wartime measure to save energy. And then after that, it kind of got confusing during World War I and World War II. It was kind of all over the place. And then they took it back, took it away. And then the Uniform Time Act in 1966 implemented it everywhere, implemented daylight savings time across the United States. And ever since then, we've been doing it every single year, twice a year throughout the United States, again, except for Arizona and Hawaii. Now, here are the sunsets for us here in Hampton Roads. Tonight, 6:05. Tomorrow, 6:06. And then you change your clocks Sunday morning. And then by the 9th of March, Sunday night, our sun sets at 7:07. Longer sunsets, or longer days, later sunsets, warmer temperatures. March is looking good. And then by the middle of April, our sun starts to set at about 7:40 in the evening. And then by the time we get into summer, by June, our sun is setting close to or around 9 o'clock. I also wanted to talk about Utqiagvik, Alaska, and their March sunsets. Now, they're 3,600 miles away from us. Here we are over here. You got to go all the way up to the tippy top of Alaska. They are 320 miles north of the Arctic Circle, right here. So they're right on the Arctic Ocean. Chilly up there. Here's a look at their sunset times here in March. So on the 1st, their sunsets at 6:23 in the evening. On the 9th, that evening, because of daylight savings time, they set at 7:59 p.m. And then by the end of the month, their sun sets at 9:37. So their sunset from the beginning of the month to the end of the month sets a little over 3 hours later Is that crazy? Just a big difference from March 1st to March 31st, 3 hours. I just thought that was extremely, extremely interesting. That's what happened when you're really far north. That's what happens when you get kind of intense changes in sunset times because you're so far north in the northern hemisphere. And eventually by summertime, the sun never sets at all. You gain way more sunlight week after week after week the further north you are in the northern hemisphere. So let's take a look at February, for instance. The northern tier of the United States gains 80 minutes of daylight during the month of February, and even down in Florida gains only about 30 minutes of daylight. So again, the further north you are, the more daylight you gain. And in March, typically is when everyone sees the most amount of daylight gained. In any time of the year, March is the time where you see more and more daylight from the first of the month to the end of the month. Up in the northern tier, seeing 100 minutes of daylight added. Here in Norfolk, we're on the fringe of 60 to 70 extra minutes of daylight. Down in Florida, about 40 minutes extra of daylight. And then it kind of falls back the closer you get into summer. So in June, you're less than 10 minutes gained of daylight, which, starts to make sense. And then summer passes, and then it's the reverse, and you start losing daylight. So in July, you lose 30 to 40 minutes in a good portion of the United States. And then for the further north you go in August, you're losing 90 minutes of daylight. That is just a big change. You have the warmer temperatures in August still way up there, but you're losing daylight really, really quickly. Then by the time you get into October, still 70 to 100 minutes of daylight lost. And then by about November, it starts to slow down a bit. And of course, by December, because that's when it changes back to gaining daylight after winter, you lose about 10 minutes of daylight getting towards the first day of winter. So there it is with the daylight savings time facts. And now we're on to our next activity, our next topic, the rare cyclone hitting Australia's east coast. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. This hasn't happened in a very, very long time. The east coast of Australia is being lashed by wind and rain ahead of its first tropical cyclone in 51 years. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses losing power, and scores of people ordered to evacuate their flood-prone homes. Some cities like Brisbane bracing to be hit by the dirty side of the storm. Last hurricane season, I explained what that means. Let's take a look. Every hurricane season, meteorologists use the term dirty side to describe the most dangerous part of the hurricane. But what actually makes the dirty side so dangerous? Well, this refers to the right side of a hurricane, and more specifically, the right front quadrant of the storm. This side is usually the most intense and dangerous part of the tropical system due to stronger winds, heavier rain, and a significantly higher chance to see tornadoes. After Debbie made her second landfall in South Carolina, she eventually trekked her way up north through North Carolina and eventually through Virginia. Debbie's center tracked far west from the Hampton Roads area, but left us on the right side, or the dirty side of her path, leaving a plethora of tornado warnings in our area, and was a prime example as to why being on the dirty side of a tropical system can be the most dangerous. The dirty side is where the storm's forward motion combines with its rotational winds, which increase wind speeds, enhancing storm surge. According to the National Hurricane Center, storm surge refers to the abnormal rise in sea level water during a storm, primarily due to the wind pushing water onshore. There are a lot of factors that determine how high storm surge will be, including the storm's intensity, speed, size, and the shape of the coastline, leaving low-lying areas particularly vulnerable. When storm surge occurs, water levels can rise rapidly, inundating coastal regions and leading to severe property damage, loss of life, and environmental destruction. During Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, New Orleans saw the highest storm surge ever recorded, reaching a maximum height of 28 feet. Yeah, definitely being on that dirty side of the storm can be extremely dangerous, the most impactful area of a hurricane. Let's look at the Australian satellite and radar right now. Here's that storm system. If we could just take this graphic full and look at this satellite and radar of this storm system, I mean, it is just, it's hitting the coast right now as we speak, hitting Brisbane, hitting the Gold Coast. And again, this is the first time they've seen a cyclone hitting the area in over 50 years. I mean, it is just astronomical. Here we go. And one of the cool things you'll notice about this cyclone in the southern hemisphere, the way it's spinning. It is spinning clockwise, right? Because that's what happens in the southern hemisphere compared to the hurricanes here where they spin counterclockwise. So just, another interesting fact. And then this is where the dirty side of the hurricane is. That's where all the winds are coming onshore. So especially right now onto the Gold Coast. I stayed there for a couple of months in college, a very beautiful area of Australia. But again, they were recording waves up to 40 feet. Just absolutely insane. And apparently, of course, there were reports of people surfing out there. You don't want to do that. I know it's big in Australia, but it is just dangerous. 40 feet when it's windy, when it's raining, just not something you want to do. And then, of course, here's the eye making its way onto the coast, Victoria Point, heading into Brisbane. When you have the eye halfway over land, that's technically landfall. So this is basically making landfall as we speak. So right now it's 9 in the morning here in the United States. So what time would it be over there? Around 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 in the morning-ish, Saturday morning, 3 in the morning, maybe. They are very far ahead. So I think it would be early Saturday morning. Oh, it's just after midnight. Thank you, Kat, the amazing producer. Just after midnight. So it's about 12:15 in the morning making landfall. And that's always one of the bad things about hurricanes making landfall at night is you can't see what's going on. People are sleeping. It's just not the best scenario. But again, here's that satellite and radar bringing a lot of heavy rain to portions of Brisbane, the Gold Coast. Bringing some storm surge. I haven't seen much in the way of numbers for what they're looking at in storm surge, but I'm sure it's nothing spectacular. Any storm surge is just could be deadly, dangerous, destroys homes. It's just something wild. Now, also, I wanted to bring up how far away the storm is. Like, if you're looking at a world map, like we're looking at right now, and here we are, we're all the way over here, right? Here's Norfolk, here's the East Coast, and all of our hurricanes are over here. They come off the coast of Africa, they start in the Caribbean, but this storm is so far away, literally across the entire world. It just keeps going and going and going, and there it is. Category 2 tropical cyclone Alfred. Now, I don't know much about the categories over there because this says it's a category 2, right? But as of the latest update, the wind speeds are 60 miles an hour. So their categories are certainly different from what we have here in the United States because, we have a category 1 to a category 5. And category 1 starts with winds 74 miles per hour plus. And this is at 60 miles per hour. So this would be considered a tropical storm here in the United States or in the Atlantic Ocean. But still strong gusty winds nonetheless. Maximum wind speeds right now are about 60 miles per hour, gusting to about 80. It's moving slow. It's moving to the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. So that's not great news in terms of rainfall. The slower the system goes, the more rainfall you're going to get. So flooding is a big concern with this storm as well. Of course, the gusty winds, the storm surge. And if we look at the path of where it started in northern Australia, in between Papua New Guinea and the northern area of Australia. Cairns, where the Great Barrier Reef is, started. I mean, I'm sure these waters are extremely, extremely warm. And then it just moved its way southward along the coast of Australia, and then just kind of did a little U-turn here and headed straight for the coast for the first time in 51 years. It's just a historic storm. You know, a lot of people there haven't experienced this because it's been so long, but it's just wild as it makes landfall over the next couple of days, heading into the morning and the afternoon and evening. Those wind speeds coming down dramatically to about 35 miles an hour. But there it is again on our radar, making landfall as we speak in Brisbane, in the Gold Coast, bringing a lot of heavy rain, a lot of wind for the first time in 51 years. The dirty side again on the southern portion of Brisbane, so they're going to see the strongest winds. They're going to see the most storm surge. I'm curious about what the tornado scenario is like down there. If they're going to be seeing any, if they're concerned about any tornado risks, because of course here on the dirty side of hurricanes, we can get a ton of tornado warnings, which we saw last season, especially in Florida, even around here with a few of the hurricanes. So definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, here is, again, the storm surge, probably what some of them could be experiencing today. I think I did see up to about 3 feet of storm surge is possible. So that's not, a whole bunch to inundate your house, unless you're really right on the ocean. 3 feet kind of maybe could get, up to your front door. But once you get to about 6 feet, that's when the first level of your house could really start to be flooded. And then, of course, like we've seen with some storms here, 12 feet, that's already above the first floor of your house. But luckily, as we go over the next couple of days, even the next couple of hours or so, the winds are going to start to calm down. Things are going to be looking much better for this area, but they just have to get through it right now. I'm sure they were prepared, even though it's been a while. I did see some people getting bags of sand for their homes and all of that. So they were ready. They were ready to, make sure that their homes were safe, that everyone was safe, everyone was prepared in that scenario. So there it is with Category 2, Tropical Cyclone Alfred, first one in 51 years. So certainly just an interesting fact that is happening out there right now. But we're going to go on to our next and last topic, the weekend weather around here in Hampton Roads, around the United States. What's going on? I know it's daylight saving time, no S. I made that mistake. Taking a live look outside on our satellite and radar, things are looking not terrible across the United States. I mean, we do have some snow up here in Nebraska, in Iowa, even some rain mixing in there, some ice, some sleet, some snow getting to Chicago, Champaign. And that's really going to start moving across the U.S. or over towards the New England area over the next day or so. But everywhere else is kind of looking pretty good for the day today. A little bit of rain, or a lot of bit of rain in areas around Arizona. That low pressure system, you could really see it spinning right there. Phoenix, getting in on some heavy rain. You don't see that very often. Some snow up in Arizona. What I did read about today earlier, it might have been Scottsdale. Was it Scottsdale? Or it could have been Flagstaff. The least amount of snow, or one of they've seen the least amount of snow almost ever this year. So definitely just an interesting fact there, but hopefully they're catching up on it. Right now, here are the weekend getaways. Washington, D.C., 54 degrees, 60 as you head into Sunday. Richmond, 61 degrees on Saturday, 60 on Sunday. Low 60s pretty much everywhere. For Charlottesville, 60, 61 degrees on Sunday. Outer Banks, big difference between Saturday and Sunday, 62 degrees and then 51 as you get into the day on Sunday. That's going to That's how it's going to be like here in Hampton Roads. We're going to be in the upper 50s to right around 60 on Saturday, and then low 50s heading into Sunday. Taking a look at the East Coast weather today, cooler up in Boston and New York, but for March, not bad. But it's going to be breezy up there from that same pressure system that came through the other day. So it's going to be feeling much colder than the mid and upper 40s. Raleigh, a good day today, 60. 42 in Cleveland, 77 in Orlando. That's going to be feeling pretty good. 68 in Atlanta, 76 in sunny, mostly sunny in New Orleans. Mid to upper 60s down here in Little Rock, St. Louis, Oklahoma City, down into Houston, lower 80s, lower 70s. That's going to be feeling really nice. Cooler up in Omaha and Minneapolis, but for March in Minneapolis, 41 degrees is really, really nice. I'm sure they're out there grilling, because it has been a cold, cold winter. Out towards the west, 35 in Denver today, 45 in Billings, 53 in Phoenix, 60 in LA, 61 in San Fran, and 53 degrees and partly sunny over in Seattle. For tomorrow, much warmer from Raleigh down into Atlanta and Orlando, 83 degrees. Could see some rain and some thunderstorms around New Orleans, but great forecast from Atlanta up into Raleigh, even Virginia Beach heading into the day tomorrow. Chillier, upper 50s to right around 60 degrees, but not as warm as Raleigh. 45 in New York City, 42 in Boston tomorrow, 32 degrees in Cleveland. Much cooler from Oklahoma City down into Dallas. Remember, their forecast for today is going to be in the lower 70s to lower 80s. And tomorrow, it's going to be 54 in Dallas. So about a 30-degree difference. Same in Oklahoma City. They're going to be seeing some rain, some snow in the panhandle of Texas as well is possible. It's going to be warmer in Omaha, Nebraska than Dallas, Texas. And that's what can happen in March. You have these crazy temperature swings where you could have warmer temperatures far up towards the north than, your warmer climate cities. Off towards the west coast, Denver tomorrow, beautiful Saturday, 51 and sunny, 54 in Billings, 68 in Phoenix, 63 in LA, 62 in San Fran, and 57 degrees in Seattle for your Saturday. Here's a look at our European model over the next couple of days. So here it is this afternoon. We're going to continue to see that storm trek over towards New England. The snow sticking around in areas around Arizona and New Mexico, areas of southern Colorado. We're going to have another system, though, pushing in to the Pacific Northwest as we head into next week. So that's something to watch. But for now, the West Coast is looking pretty good. This is the storm system that's in Arizona right now. That's going to make its way into Texas, Dallas, Oklahoma, giving the panhandle of Texas some snow, Oklahoma some snow. So again, Oklahoma City, Dallas going to go from the 70s and 80s to cold rain and some snow. That's going to continue to push into the panhandle of Florida. All of the East Coast looking good Sunday afternoon. Another system trying to make its way into the West Coast, bringing some rain and snow from Seattle down into Portland. And then look at this. Another looks like atmospheric river trying to make its way into Southern California, which is great. Going to bring some rain into areas around Los Angeles and San Diego. Then you'll notice back out here, that's that big system, our next big system that's going to head our way or head towards the Pacific Northwest. You can see that big spin out there off the coast of Seattle, Portland, Northern California, just bringing a ton of rain next Wednesday and a ton of snow. And that's going to make its way onto the coast by about Wednesday afternoon. Now, the next big story, though, is the warm-up that is on the way. You'll notice here in the Dakotas and Minnesota, parts of Nebraska, 15, 20, 25 degrees above average. And down here in Texas, we're 10, 15 degrees below average. So that's why we were seeing Omaha and Dallas basically having the same temperatures. We're seeing well above temperatures in the north and well below temperatures in the south. But as we go throughout Sunday, Monday, we're going to see the above average temperatures swooping down heading into the end of the weekend and the start of the work week. So by Monday, the Dakotas down into Texas, all the way over to Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, above average. And that's going to continue over the next couple of days. But the well above average temperatures making their way further south. So including Hampton Roads Ohio, Illinois, down into Arkansas and Kansas. And it's going to stay with us Tuesday, Wednesday, even into Thursday as well. So we're going to see really, really comfortable temperatures over the next couple of days. Now here's a look at our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. And you can see, so even past the upcoming work week and we get to the middle of the month, the 15th to the 21st, I mean, more above average temperatures, especially for, Connecticut down into North Carolina. So if you like the warmer weather, it's here to stay for a good period of time. But probably as we get towards the end of the month, we're going to see another dip in temperatures because that's kind of how it is in March before you really start to see more consistency as you get closer and closer to the summer months. But also, it is the first day of spring coming up in just a couple of weeks, 13 days to be exact, March 20th. 5:01 a.m. It's going to be soon, actually. If we could just take this full graphics really quickly. There it is, March 20th, 5:01 a.m. Our long winter may have been wishing for some warmth of spring, right? But when spring comes early, it has consequences. ABC's chief climate correspondent, Ginger Z, explains how our changing climate is impacting the spring season as we know it.
The flowers start blooming, the birds are singing, and you can finally ditch that heavy winter coat. After a long winter, an early spring might sound like a treat, but it's also a signal that human-amplified climate change is affecting the season of new beginnings. As our changing climate triggers seasonal shifts, spring warmth is now emerging earlier than in decades past, according to the 5th National Climate Assessment. While that might sound ideal, these shifts can create a ripple effect across entire ecosystems, influencing plants and wildlife and all the delicate ways that they interact with one another.
We're seeing early blooms, but our insects aren't quite out there yet, our pollinators, for instance. Or we could have the opposite instance where our flowers aren't blooming quite yet, but we have pollinators out and about and they're looking for nectar, they're looking for food sources that aren't there yet.
This mismatch can be bad news. More than 80% of the world's flowering plants rely on pollinators to reproduce, according to the USDA. And since most of our food comes from these pollinating plants, humans are dependent on pollinators and plants aligning. Warming temperatures also give plant pests a boost.
More warmth means that we could have quicker development time with a lot of our insects.
The EPA says that the average length of the growing season in the lower 48 has increased by more than 2 weeks since the start of the 20th century. A longer growing season means many insects can now produce multiple generations in a single season. That can mean more pests bothering both us and our plants. If you're like me and you love to garden, these changes mean we'll likely need to adjust our gardening habits and adapt to our new climate reality.
We're trying to get people to think about, if they're looking to plant new native plants, to look 1 or 2 planting zones south and select plants that will be able to thrive, 20, 30, 50 years from now.
Crop rotation is another way to build a more resilient garden as pest problems grow. Since many insects and diseases target specific plants, rotating them helps limit their spread and impacts. As gardeners, we can also make a huge difference by planting more native plants in our gardens, which the National Audubon Society says require less natural resources to thrive. With this Climate Minute, I'm Ginger Z.
Yep, that's exactly right. It is starting to feel like spring here, though, over the next couple of days, especially as we get into next week with temperatures in the low 70s. Not today, though, as we take a live look outside at our Thompson Creek Window Company sky view here in downtown Norfolk. 43 degrees. We're seeing some clouds out there. We'll see a few peaks of sunshine throughout the afternoon. Winds are out of the west at about 13 miles per hour, and it was a chilly one. Waking up this morning, we were in the mid to lower 30s for a lot of us. 30 in Chesapeake, 37 in Norfolk, 35 in Hampton, 32 in Wakefield, 30 in Husky. And our average low for this time of year is about 39. So we were definitely feeling chilly heading off to work this morning. Temperatures out there right now rebounding a little bit. We're in the low 40s, upper 30s, 43 in Norfolk, 44 in Elizabeth City, 38 in Wakefield, 39 in Williamsburg. We're looking 8 to 10 degrees cooler than this time yesterday. We're 8 degrees cooler in Williamsburg, 8 degrees cooler in Elizabeth City. Hampton, you guys are sitting at about 12 degrees cooler. And today we'll be in the mid to upper 50s, 58 in Suffolk, 56 in Norfolk, 56 in Chesapeake for our afternoon high. A little bit cooler in areas of the Eastern Shore. You guys will be in the lower 50s, 52 in Cape Charles, 52 in Malfa. The Peninsula's 56 in Newport News, 56 in Hampton, 56 in Gloucester, and 54 in Matthews for your high today. In areas of Eastern North Carolina, 58 seems to be the magic number from Edenton, Gatesville over to Elizabeth City. Cooler along the coast, Kill Devil Hills and Manio sitting at 53 degrees for your high today. Tonight, comfortable, 47 degrees. We'll see a little bit of cloud cover heading into the overnight hours, but we'll start to clear out heading into Saturday morning. So we're going to have a west-southwest wind that'll help keep us, warmer, and we're going to have some cloud cover kind of acting as a blanket, so that'll keep us comfortable heading into our Saturday morning. We'll be in the mid to upper 40s, so perfect for a nice walk to get out and start the day. 58 for our high on Saturday afternoon. A chance we could see a few isolated showers as we get into the afternoon, but overall, a basic average March weekend. We'll be in the mid 50s on Sunday. Again, a chance for a few isolated showers, but it's not a washout by any means. It's just your average March weekend. If you don't do anything, you're not missing out. We will have a weekend like this again. You're not missing out on extremely beautiful, warm, sunny days. So if you want to stay inside this weekend, it's not a big deal. Here's our 10-day temperature trend. Over the next couple of days, we're staying in the mid to upper 50s, low 60s. And then we are on a 70s train. And we barely come off. Maybe next week we're down in the upper 60s, but we are on trend for a warm week next week. I'm not complaining. This is almost perfect. Almost. If it was 8 to 10 degrees warmer with sunshine, that would be perfect. But I'm not complaining with the low 70s. Our average high for this time of year is about 58 degrees, so we'll be well above that. Heading into this afternoon and evening, mid to upper 50s, dropping back into the upper 40s for this evening and overnight. We'll see that increase in cloud cover, and waking up for our Saturday morning, we are in the mid to upper 40s. So a comfortable start. That southwest wind helping us stay, warmer as we go throughout the day. We'll be in the mid to upper 50s, low 60s in a few areas. We might be on the fringe of a warm front, so that might make areas in North Carolina be a little bit warmer, maybe some mid 60s possible. Chance for a few isolated showers heading into the afternoon. And then as we get into our Saturday evening, dropping it back into the mid to upper 40s. Saturday morning, a chillier start. We'll be in the mid to upper 30s. It'll be similar to what we saw today. That's because we have a cold front that pushes through, so that'll change our winds out of the northeast. So it'll be a chilly start to our Sunday. Temperatures will be cooler than Saturday. We'll be in the upper 40s to mid to lower 50s for a lot of us. And as we get into our Sunday evening, dropping back into the lower 40s. Here's our 7-day forecast, 56 degrees for today. It'll be in the upper 50s, pushing 60 degrees for our Saturday, maybe a few degrees warmer than that. 55 on Sunday, we have daylight savings time, and then we are back in the 60s and 70s for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And that's going to be coming with some sunshine. You'll love to see it. Again, I'm Meteorologist Hunter Forst. You can find me on Facebook at Meteorologist Hunter Forst or Instagram at HUNNERFORST. This is the Weather Desk. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. We'll be back here again Monday at 9 o'clock. Thanks for joining.